Future of Hallyu, Korean Cinema on the Global Stage conference. As you may know, our center is celebrating 40th anniversary, and our program today is part of our celebration. It is really amazing to see how far the popularity of Korean entertainment has reached today. Not too long ago, I was eating at a local restaurant when a Hispanic waitress approached me. And once she found out that I was Korean, then she said, "Do you know Crash Landing on You?" I said, "Of course, I watched." And oh my God, you know the Crash Landing. And then we continue talking, for a few minutes about our common interest in K-drama. At Stanford, I teach a class on Korean state and society. In the past, students said that they enrolled in my class due to their interest in the Korean economy and North Korea. And those topics were the main focus of my lectures. However, now I see some of you here. They take my class through introduction via cultural avenue, mainly through K-pop and K-drama. It is quite clear that we cannot any longer ignore the power and influence Korean culture has, not just in the entertainment, also in academics. When I arrived in the States 40 years ago, we were still watching MASH. I think some of you probably saw on American TV, a TV show about American medical workers in Korea during the Korean War. Korea was then perceived as a poor, war-torn country. Now popular dramas such as Crash Landing on You and Squid Game have replaced MASH to represent Korea and Korea's rising power in entertainment. And far beyond the TV screen, from music to movie, technology to the beauty industry, K-culture is setting global trend. This is a truly amazing turnaround in such a short period of time. As you know, this year marks the 70th anniversary of the U.S. ROK Alliance, and next week, South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol is coming to make a state visit to Washington. But the relations between the two countries have become much deeper and wider beyond the military arena. Important economic and cultural exchanges make the two countries more interconnected than ever before. The next steps for Korea and its soft power are even more important now, with the global attention placed on the country and its prospects of becoming a cultural superpower. These developments and growing interests have encouraged us to explore more deeply different aspects of the Korean wave. Last spring, I think some of you came to our event. To celebrate the Korea program's 20th anniversary, we held a conference focused on K-pop, which had extraordinary turnout and attention that encouraged us to continue our programs on Korean culture, including today's event on K-drama and films, like today. Given the continued rise in Korea's importance on the global stage, we hope to expand our programs on Korean culture in the coming years. So we are so fortunate to have a wonderful team here to support us in making our ideas into reality. I'd like to thank Ms. Mickey Lee of CJ and Ms. Lee-Hyun of Samsung and the CJ Entertainment team for their great support that make today's conference possible. We are also very grateful to Korea Foundation for your continuous support of our programs. So I'd like to thank our distinguished panelists who will offer their unique insight on the Korean wave. Once again, it's really remarkable that we are here today to discuss such a fresh but pertinent topic on the power of Korean culture and how to evolve this trend further. So thank you again. I hope that you will enjoy today's conference. So now let me turn the stage to Mr. Yoon Sang-soo. Mr. Yoon is Consul General of Republic of Korea in San Francisco. Then he'll share some thoughts with us. So please welcome Mr. Yoon. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Professor Ki-Yuk Shin, the director of the Shorenstein Asia Pacific Research Center and its Korean program, and Mr. Byung-hun Lee, the star of Iris, Sunshine, and Squid Game, and Ms. Eun Park, the writer of Mile from the Star, Crash Landing on You, and many distinguished professors and experts, students, and the Korean drama lovers. It is my great honor to make a congratulatory remark on the occasion of the special event celebrating the Shorenstein APARC's 40th anniversary. Shorenstein APARC, founded in 1983, has been playing a very much important role as a Stanford University's hub for the interdisciplinary studies and contemporary Asia. APARC also contributes to strengthening the dialogue between counterparts in Asia Pacific and the United States. In this connection, I think the theme of today's conference, the future of Hallyu, Korean cinema on the global stage, is very much timely and appropriate with the recent trend and by speak the spirit of the Shorenstein APARC. These days, when I go to the many conferences and seminars, it is now very common and popular to check what the ChatGPT say before starting to talking about the issues. So, before coming to here, I checked the ChatGPT to find out what is the K-drama. The answer is over the past few years, K-drama has taken the world by storm and captivated the audience with their unique storytelling and charming characters and mesmerizing cinematography. So first, the K-drama are known for their captivating storyline that are filled with romance, drama, emotion that keep viewers glued to the screen. And second, K-drama has given rise to a new generation of actors and actresses who have won fans around the world for their exceptional talent and captivating performances. And lastly, K-drama are celebrated for their vibrant cinematography, attention to the details, and beautiful locations. So what do you think about that? It's awesome, is it? And I think it is very well written and better than expected one. But anyway, it gives us some point of thought in relation to K-dramas. In recent years, Korean culture has garnered more global attentions due to the success of K-pop groups such as BTS, Blackpink, and the movie Parasite and the Netflix series Squid Game. So I'd like to share my view on why K-drama being loved worldwide, focusing on the storyline. So Korea is a country with a long history of 5,000 years and has a unique history of very rapid economic development, rising from one of the poorest countries after the Korean War back in 1950s to the becoming one of the most advanced economy with vibrant democracies. And division of Korean Peninsula after the Korean War also create a very unique source of a story for two K-dramas. For instance, the movie Joint Security Area, which starred actor Byung-hun Lee, and the drama Crash Landing on You by writer Eun Park, both dealt with North Korea's situation and the division of two Koreas. Another reason for the success of K-drama often lie in the elements such as family, love, challenges people around the world can share with. For example, the 대장금, a drama that gained worldwide popularity in early 2000s, shows a Korean woman in the Joseon dynasty overcoming challenges and become the first female physicians to the king through learning the Korean traditional cooking and the medicines. And moreover, recent Korean drama tackle the social issues as well. Academy Award-winning movie Parasite and the Netflix Squid Game both portray the problem of ever increase the gap between the rich and poor. And the recent drama, The Glory, Netflix drama, gained the popularity with the story of school violence that is the issue in Korea right now. So Korean movie, in a sense, try to address the social issues in the society, and they are very much successful in invoking the empathy from the people around the world. So that is my conclusion of why the Korean K-drama is so popular in terms of the storyline here. Distinguished guest, as a diplomat, I'm very much proud of achievement made by the Korean actors, writers, and directors and producers in the Korean entertainment industry. Those are genuine, the cultural diplomat who promote the charms of Korea to the world and making great contribution to cultural diplomacy of Korea and its soft power. As Professor Shin said, this year marked the 70th anniversary of Korea-US Security Alliance made after the Korean War in October 1953. The alliance has been evolved over 7 decades and expanded to economy, culture, as well as the science and technology. People-to-people exchange and cultural cooperation are the basis for furthering our cooperation in various areas. In this connection, I'm very much pleased to see many Korean movies and dramas are being presented to the American audience through various medias and performance. And the Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol is scheduled to make an official state visit to US in Washington, D.C. next week. And I think upcoming visit is to celebrate the 70th anniversary of a US-ROK alliance. And at the same time, the people-to-people tie between our two countries would be one of the important agenda during the summit meeting. And we are expecting another visit of Korean President Yoon in November this year on the occasion of APEC summit meeting. So I think both summit meeting and the visit of Korean President Yoon to United States could be a milestone for furthering our cooperation in people-to-people ties. In conclusion, I really appreciate very much Professor Gi-wook Shin for organizing this wonderful event. And also I would like to acknowledge that your extraordinary leadership has led the Shorenstein APARC and its Korean program to great success over the decades. So I look forward to working very closely with you and your team to furthering and exploring the cooperation between the US and Korea. Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right. Welcome, everyone. My name is Haley Gordon, and I'm a research associate here at Stanford's Korea program. I'm really excited to kick off this afternoon with a panel featuring two very prolific writers for the screen and the stage. So I'll just introduce them first. Ms. Eun Park is a scriptwriter of extraordinary achievement whose astonishing creative vision and organizational talents are renowned throughout the entertainment industry. She is internationally recognized for turning television visions and concepts into mesmerizing creative realities. Her K-dramas include Crash Landing on You, The Legend of the Blue Sea, The Producers, My Love from the Star, My Husband Got a Family, Queen of Reversals, Queen of Housewives, and Get Carl Osujung, among others. In particular, Crash Landing on You is the highest rated TVN drama and the third highest rated Korean drama in cable television history. The drama got high praise for its originality and the unfolding of its plot. It was also immensely popular among fans all over Asia, and I'll say all over the US and the world, and it was consistently in the top 10 on Netflix in almost all major Asian markets and accumulated 1.75 billion online views globally. Professor Young-Jin Lee is a playwright, director, and filmmaker who has been called the most adventurous downtown playwright of her generation by the New York Times, and one of the best experimental playwrights in America by Time Out New York. She's the first Asian American female playwright to have had a play produced on Broadway. She has written and directed 10 shows in New York with Young-Jin Lee's theater company. Her plays have been performed in more than 80 cities around the world and have been published by Dramatists Play Service, Samuel French, and Theater Communications Group. Her short films have been presented at the Locarno International Film Festival, Sundance Film Festival, and BAM Cinema Fest. Lee is the recipient of a Guggenheim Fellowship, 2 OBIE Awards, a prize in literature from the American Academy of Arts and Letters, a Penn Literary Award, a United States Artists Fellowship, and the Wyndham Campbell Prize. She is a professor of theater and performance studies and Nina C. Crocker Faculty Scholar at Stanford University. I'm also excited to introduce our wonderful interpreter, Raymond Ha, who will be helping us tremendously throughout the course of this afternoon. So the way this panel is going to work is that Ms. Park is going to give some remarks to start us off, and then she and Professor Lee are going to have some really exciting conversation about kind of the creative process, what kinds of energies and thoughts go into writing, and how screenwriting differs in Korea and the US, and more. So I know some of you wrote down some questions, and I think hopefully we'll have some time left over to get to a couple of those. So Ms. Park, if you'd like to start us off.
안녕하세요. 저는 한국에서 드라마를 쓰고 있는 박지은이라고 합니다.
Good afternoon. My name is Eun Park, and I'm a K-drama writer.
저는 아주 어렸을 때부터 드라마 광이었는데요. 좋아하는 드라마가 끝날까 봐 시계와 TV를 번갈아 가면서 보던 아이였습니다.
So I was a big fan of drama since I was very young, to the point where I wished the drama would never end, and I kept checking the watch to make sure that it would never end.
그래서 어느 순간부터는 저도 저렇게 사람들을 웃기고 울리는 드라마를 쓰고 싶다는 꿈이 생겼습니다.
So at some point, I began to have a dream that I wanted to be a writer who could make people cry and laugh through these dramas.
90년대에 제가 다니던 고등학교에서는 정규 수업이 끝나고 밤 12시까지 심야 자율학습을 했는데요.
So when I went to high school in the 90s, so after our classes ended, during the evening until midnight, we had self-study sessions at school.
아침 학교는 7시에 등교를 했고요.
And we went to school at 7 a.m. in the morning.
아무튼 그런데 그 심야 자율학습 시간에 저는 공부는 좀 안 하는 편이었고 친구들하고 쪽지를 주고받거나 그리고 제가 생각하는 이야기들을 노트에 적고 했었습니다.
So I didn't study a whole lot during these evening self-study sessions. I passed around notes to my friends and also wrote storylines for things, stories I thought would be interesting.
그때 제 제일 친한 친구는 배우가 꿈이었는데요. 그래서 그 친구에게 제가 쓴 이야기를 보여주면 그 친구가 아 이거는 좀 못하겠다 자기는 뭐 이렇게 거절하기도 하고 또 어떨 때는 이건 좀 마음에 드니까 내가 나중에 할게 뭐 이렇게 얘기하기도 했습니다.
So my closest friends at the time wanted to be an actress, and so when I showed her my storyline, sometimes she would say, "No, like this doesn't make any sense." Sometimes, "Oh, like this looks good. I could act in this one later on."
그 친구는 여전히 제 소중한 모니터 요원 중에 한 명이고 지금도 대본을 쓰면 가장 먼저 보여주는 사람입니다.
So this friend remains a close friend to this day, and she's one of the first people that I show my scripts to just to get feedback.
네, 이런 꿈을 가지고 국어 국문학과에 진학해서 공부를 하고 있을 때 그 당시에 한국에서 가장 유명한 작가분들 중에 한 분이었던 분을 우연히 만나게 됐습니다.
So with these aspirations, I went to college majoring in Korean language and literature, and I happened to have the opportunity to meet one of the most famous Korean drama writers at the time.
그래서 그분께 여쭤봤습니다. 어떻게 하면 드라마 작가가 될 수 있느냐?
So I asked her, like, how can I become a drama writer in Korea?
그때 그 작가님이 저에게 해주신 말씀이 어떻게 생각하면 제 인생을 대하는 태도를 좀 바꿔 놓은 것 같습니다.
So the advice she gave me then, I think, changed really the course of my whole life since then.
그 대답은 너는 아직 어리니까 지금부터 할 수 있는 모든 경험과 고생을 많이 해라. 그리고 30대 중반 이후에 드라마를 해야 한다. 였습니다.
What she told me was that since you're still young, you should expose yourself to a wide variety of experiences, even if they're hardships, even if they're difficult. And once you've accumulated these experiences, then you can become a writer, perhaps in your late 30s.
그 말씀을 듣고 나니까 갑자기 지금 하고 있는 좀 어려운 일들과 고생들이 앞으로 제 드라마 작가 인생을 위한 준비의 과정처럼 느껴지면서 갑자기 소중하고 의미 있게 느껴졌습니다.
So after hearing this advice, whenever I had a tough experience, I could take a step back and see, oh, these experiences are meaningful because they will help me prepare to become a drama writer later on.
당시 저는 굉장히 말을 안 듣는 중학생 남자에게 논술을 과외를 하고 있었는데요.
So at the time, I was tutoring a middle school boy on how to write essays, and he just would not listen to what I said.
정말 멘탈 관리가 필요한 일이었습니다.
It was really difficult to keep myself together mentally.
하지만 마음을 고쳐 먹었습니다. 이렇게까지 남의 말을 안 듣고 하라는 걸 반대로만 하는 애를 어디서 제가 다시 만나볼 수 있을까? 이런 캐릭터는 나중에 꼭 드라마에 써야겠다.
And I thought to myself, okay, I'll probably never meet a person who is as extreme in not listening to me, does the opposite of what I say. And I thought to myself, okay, I could make a character like this in one of my scripts later on.
그래서 이제 드라마를 쓰기 전에 어떤 직업을 가지면 좋을까 생각하다가 광고 회사에 들어가고 싶다는 마음을 먹게 됐습니다.
So I thought about, okay, which company or which industry should I go into? And I thought, okay, maybe I could go into advertising company.
그래서 대학교 때 수업 외에 모든 시간과 그리고 방학의 모든 시간을 써서 광고 공모전에 낼 작품을 만드는데 굉장한 노력을 들였습니다.
So in college, outside of classes, I spent a lot of time, both during the academic term and also during vacations, preparing entries for contests for advertising.
그렇게 얻게 된 수상 경력으로 광고 회사의 취업이 보장이 되는 기회를 얻게 됐는데요.
So I was successful in these contests that I entered for advertisements, and I had found a place to go to work at after graduating from college.
졸업을 굉장히 기다렸습니다. 빨리 회사에 들어가고 싶어서. 그런데 제가 졸업을 한 게 1997년 여름이었거든요. IMF 사태가 터졌습니다.
So I was very much looking forward to working at an advertising company. But I graduated in the summer of '97, which, as some of you may know, Korea experienced shortly after then the IMF crisis.
나라가 갑자기 부도 위기에 처하게 돼서 저를 뽑아주기로 했던 많은 회사들이 도산도 하고 그리고 기존 직원들을 다 내보내야 됐기 때문에 신입사원을 전혀 뽑지 않게 됐습니다.
So since the whole country was in the serious economic crisis. The company that was supposed to hire me took back its offer. They had to let go of their existing employees, and they were not in a situation to hire new employees.
몇 년 동안 정말 많이 고생하면서 준비했던 게 다 물거품이 돼버렸죠. 네.
So all this effort that I put into preparing for this over several years came to nothing.
그 후에 찾게 된 일이 프리랜서로 시사 고발 프로그램의 작가 일을 하는 것이었습니다.
So the work that I found was to work as a freelance writer for current affairs investigative programs on TV.
아파트 관리비의 비리를 파헤치거나 환경단체 사람들과 그 오폐수, 공장 오폐수가 벌어지고 있는 곳에 쫓아가거나 이런 일들이었습니다.
So just to give you an idea of what this looked like, I looked into corruption in apartment associations in Korea. I followed an environmental organization to expose a company polluting rivers. So this was the type of work that I did at the time.
그 일을 하는 동안에는 집에 갈 수도 없어서 방송국 숙직실에서 자곤 했는데 그 숙직실은 귀신이 나온다는 소문이 굉장히 많던 곳이었습니다. 그런데 너무 피곤해서 저는 한 번도 귀신을 보지 않고 잘 잤습니다.
So I was so busy at the time that I could not go home, and I actually slept in a night watch duty room at the broadcasting station. People had said that they would see ghosts at this night watch duty station, but I was too tired. I slept all the time, and I never saw a ghost.
그리고 몇 년 뒤에는 시트콤을 만드는 팀에 합류해서 작가로 일을 할 수 있게 됐는데요. 그 당시에 한국에서는 일일 시트콤이 유행했습니다. 일일 시트콤은 월요일부터 금요일까지 매일매일 시트콤을 방송하는 거고 그게 1, 2년 동안 계속되는 겁니다.
So after a few years, I got looped into a writers team for a sitcom, which was very popular in Korea at the time. So they would have every episode. They would have an episode every day from Monday through Friday, and I worked on this for one or 2 years.
그런데 대본 작가는 겨우 5명이었고요. 그래서 매주 한 편씩의 시트콤 대본을 계속해서 써야 됐습니다.
So there are only 5 writers on the team, so it gives you a sense of how much work we had to do to have 5 episodes every week.
그렇게 되면 월요일에는 작업 과정이 어떻게 되냐면 월요일에는 모두 모여서 아이템 회의를 하고 그리고 정해진 아이템으로 화요일에는 시놉시스를 쓰고 수요일에 다시 모여서 시놉시스 회의를 하고 목요일과 금요일은 대본을 쓰고 토요일 아침에는 대본을 넘기고 다시 수정을 합니다. 그리고 다시 월요일에 아이템 회의를 합니다. 이렇게 휴가도 없이 몇 년 동안 스케줄을 소화하게 됐습니다.
So just to give you a sense of what this looked like in practice, on Monday we would brainstorm ideas. On Tuesday we would write a synopsis. On Wednesday we would discuss whether the synopsis was good. And on Thursday and Friday we would write the script, and then we would turn over the script afterwards, and we would repeat this the following week. And this went on for several years.
그 외에 수십 년 동안 헤어졌던 가족들을 만나게 해주는 프로그램의 작가도 했고 생방송으로 진행되는 라디오 프로그램이나 라디오 드라마도 했습니다.
So in addition to working on sitcoms, I also worked as a writer on a TV program that reunited long-separated family members who had not seen each other for several decades. And I also worked as a writer on radio shows and on radio dramas as well.
그렇게 10년 동안 저는 거의 하루도 쉬지 않고 일을 했고 정말 오로지 드라마만 빼고 모든 장르의 그 방송을 모두 해봤습니다.
So for 10 years, I worked in all variety of broadcast genres, maybe all genres except dramas, and this went on for 10 years.
드디어 30대가 되었는데요. 고생만 하고 아직 드라마 작가가 되지는 못했습니다.
So I finally entered my 30s, but I had gone through a lot of difficult experiences and adversities, but I was still not a drama writer.
그러다가 내조의 여왕이라는 드라마를 기획하게 됐는데요. 방송국의 공개 편성 심사에서 통과를 했습니다. 1년 동안 그 작업에만 매달렸던 저는 정말 기뻤습니다.
So the first drama that I worked on was called Queen of Housewives, and I was notified that the broadcasting company had approved the proposal for the drama, and I was excited because I had worked on this for over a year.
그때가 2008년이었는데요. 미국발 국제 금융 위기가 터졌습니다.
So this was in 2008, and as all of you know very well, there was the global financial crisis.
방송사에서 긴축 재정을 선언하면서 제 드라마가 편성됐던 시간대가 아예 없어졌습니다.
So the broadcasting company had to cut back on its programming, And the time slot that my drama was supposed to go out at, it got canceled altogether.
제작사에서는 제 작업실을 매물로 내놨고 사람들이 방을 보러 왔습니다. 저는 방을 보여주면서 대본을 계속 썼습니다.
So just to give you an idea of how bad it got, the production company had to sell my office, to sell it out through real estate. And people came to see the room, my potential buyers came to see the room, but they still had to keep working on the script.
그렇지만 그 다음 해에 다른 시간대에 편성됐던 어떤 드라마가 무산이 되면서 다행히 제 드라마가 급하게 그 자리를 때우러 들어가게 됐습니다.
But fortunately, the next year, a drama got canceled at the last minute, and it so happened that my drama was this drama, The Queen of Housewives, was able to be broadcasted in that time slot that was just opened up.
다행히 그동안 쉬지 않고 써놓은 대본이 있어서 무리 없이 방송을 할 수 있게 되었고 결과도 아주 좋았습니다.
So since I kept working on the script, the drama was very successful, and I also achieved I was able to achieve good results.
저는 그렇게 드라마 작가가 됐습니다.
This is how I became a K-drama writer.
그 후에 드라마 작가들의 모임에서 대학생인 저에게 조언을 해주셨던 그 선배 작가님을 다시 만나 뵙게 됐는데요. 작가님께 그 해주신 조언 덕분에 제가 초조해하지 않고 30대를 맞이하고 드라마 작가가 될 수 있었다라고 감사의 말씀을 드렸습니다.
So later on, at the gathering of K-drama writers, I ran into the writer who gave me the advice way back when I was in college, and I thanked her, saying, "Your advice helped me face my experiences, helped me get through my 30s, and eventually become a drama writer." So I said, "Thank you for your advice."
그런데 그 작가님께서는 정작 내가 그런 말을 했어? 이러시면서 전혀 그 일을 기억을 하지 못하시더라고요.
But the author who gave me the advice said, "What? I don't remember saying any of that."
그렇지만 결과적으로는 제가 저에게 닥친 그런 쓴 경험들과 고생들을 실패와 좌절로 받아들이지 않고 드라마를 쓰기 위한 꼭 필요한 과정과 소재들로 받아들이게 해줄 수 있었던 아주 귀한 조언이었다고 생각해서 이 자리에서 여러분과 나누게 되었습니다.
So looking back, it was this advice that helped me get through the adversities that I experienced in my 20s and 30s and find meaning in those experiences and to distill those experiences into dramas that I wrote later on. And was very helpful advice, it was very meaningful advice. I wanted to share it with all of you as well.
감사합니다.
Thank you.
Professor Lee.
It's such an honor to have you here. You're really like a Korean national treasure, literally. And so thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate it. So my first question has to do with the truly incredible success of Crash Landing on You, which, you know, as a love story, bridging the North and South Korean divide is not the first thing you would imagine as being the thing that would have like the global appeal. It feels more specific. So can you talk a little bit about how this very specific story managed to have such a universal appeal?
저는 이전에는 좀 해외에서 인기가 있는 몇몇 드라마를 만들어 본 경험이 있는데 사랑의 불시착을 만들 때는 그런 부분을 전혀 기대를 할 수 없었습니다.
So I had previously written dramas that found success overseas, outside of Korea. But when I was brainstorming Crash Landing on You, I had no expectation that it would gain traction outside of Korea.
최근 몇 년 사이에는 그 K 드라마의 제작 환경에 많은 변화가 있었는데요. 그 전에는 몇몇 드라마의 해외 방영권을 판매를 하고 그것을 제작비에 보태는 방식으로 일을 했는데 넷플릭스 등의 OTT 플랫폼이 등장하면서 많은 부분이 달라졌습니다. 전 세계 거의 동시간으로 드라마가 방송이 되면서 K-드라마가 많이 거의 동시에 그 플랫폼을 통해서 사랑을 받을 수가 있게 됐습니다.
So the production environment for K-dramas has changed changed dramatically in the past few years. And in the past, the way it would work was we would sell broadcasting rights in certain companies, and we would use that to support our production. So there weren't too many opportunities for our dramas to reach foreign audiences. But now there are over the OTT platforms, which means that Korean dramas can reach essentially a global audience at the same time.
사랑의 불시착을 만들 때 오히려 그런 부분들이 조금 부담이 됐었던 것 같습니다. 왜냐하면 많은 사람들이 왜 이렇게 중요할 때 이런 남북한 이야기를 굳이 하려고 하느냐. 아직 그 남한과 북한을 구분 못하는 미국 사람도 되게 많다. 그리고 분단이라는 역사적인 상황과 현재 우리나라의 상황, 그리고 비무장지대라는 공간에 대한 이해나 그런 지식 없이는 이 이야기를 이해하지 못한다. 사투리라든가 언어적인 그런 차이나 문화의 차이가 이 드라마의 재미 포인트인데, 그리고 분단 민족으로서의 정서 같은 것이 굉장히 특별하게 느껴져야 되는데 그것은 한국 사람 말고는 이해할 수가 없다. 이렇게 얘기를 많이 들었습니다. 저도 어느 정도 공감을 했습니다.
So when I was thinking about Crash Landing on You, so this was a difficult issue. And people told me when I told them that I was working on this piece that this is an important time for Korea and maybe might not be the right time to address North-South Korea relations in the drama. There are people in the US who can't distinguish between the two. There are people who do not really understand the history of division on the peninsula, and there are people who don't really have an understanding of what the DMZ means as a space on the Korean peninsula. And the other important thing was that one of the key entertaining factors in the drama was the difference in North and South Korean dialects, the slight differences in culture. And the concern was that people wouldn't understand this. People wouldn't understand what it would be to live in a nation that had been divided. And essentially the concern was that people outside of Korea wouldn't really be able to empathize or understand with this. And I did agree with this to some extent.
그렇지만 뭐 어쩔 수 없는 일이라고 생각했고 그냥 철저히 한국 사람들이 이해하고 공감하고 좋아해 줄 수 있는 드라마를 만드는 데만 전념하자라고 생각했습니다.
So I mean, but I thought this was unavoidable, and I focused on trying to create a drama that would gain the attention and the interest of Korean audiences at home.
방송이 끝나고 얼마 뒤에 제가 뉴욕에 입국하게 됐는데 그때 입국 심사대 직원이 저에게 직업이 뭐냐고 물어봐서 드라마 작가라고 얘기했습니다.
So shortly after Crash Landing on You had been released, I came to New York, and at the airport, the CBP officer asked me, "What is your occupation?" And I told the officer, I'm a drama writer.
덩치가 굉장히 크고 좀 무뚝뚝하게 생기신 분이었는데 그분이 제목을 물어봐서 크래시 랜딩 온 유라고 대답을 했더니 네가 그걸 썼다고? 그래서 제가 그랬습니다. 진짜 봤다고?
So mind you, this officer he was hefty. He didn't really have a friendly facial expression. And when I told him that I had worked on Crash Landing on You, he was like, "Really? like you wrote that?" And my reaction was, "You really saw that?"
해외 인기가 정말 기쁘기도 했지만 저 역시 그 이유가 궁금했습니다.
So I was obviously heartened by the fact that this drama was being loved outside of Korea, and I thought about, okay, why is this the case? Why do people find it entertaining?
드라마의 방영 시기가 코로나가 시작된 시점과 겹쳐서 많은 사람들이 집에 머물렀고 또 국경을 넘을 수 없는 그런 안타까운 사랑 이야기가 코로나 시국에 타국에 있는 가족이나 연인을 만나지 못하는 그런 사람들에게 조금 공감을 얻으면서 더 인기가 많아졌다는 분석도 있었고 저도 그 이유에 그런 이유가 분명히 있었다고 생각합니다.
So some commentators observed that this drama was released at the time of COVID, where people just had to stay home, and the topic of the drama was love that was blocked by borders and international barriers. And at the time, people couldn't cross borders to see their loved ones overseas. And I think this analysis, I also agree with this analysis.
그리고 북한이라는 공간이 굉장히 폐쇄적이기 때문에 그곳에 사는 사람들의 일상을 그린다는 것이 좀 신선하게 느껴졌을 거라고 생각합니다.
And because North Korea is such a closed society, the fact that the drama would portray ordinary life in North Korea, I think people found it refreshing and intriguing.
이전에 남북한을 다뤘던 드라마들은 주로 첩보물이나 뭐 이런 게 많았는데 이 작품에서는 거기 사는 사람들의 아주 자잘한 일상들을 많이 다뤘기 때문입니다. 사람들이 뭐 갑자기 전기가 끊겼을 때 어떻게 하는지, 뭐 김치나 고기는 어떻게 보관을 하는지, 시장에서는 뭘 파는지, 기차가 갑자기 서버렸을 때는 사람들은 하룻밤 동안 어디에서 어떻게 머무르는지 이런 그동안 보지 못했던 이야기들을 다뤘던 것이 많은 사람들에게 향수를 좀 느끼게 했던 부분이 있었다고 생각합니다.
So previous dramas in South Korea that focused on North-South relations tended mostly to be spy thrillers. But by contrast, this drama, Crash Landing on You, showed the ordinary lives of the North Korean people. For instance, what do people do when the electricity goes out? How do they store their kimchi? How do they store their meat? What do they sell at the Jangmadang markets? What do people do when the train stops and you have to spend the night as you wait for the train to go back on? And the fact that it exposed these as ordinary aspects of life in North Korea, I think it drew the people's interest.
이 드라마가 타임슬립물은 아니지만 마치 20-30년 전으로 과거로 돌아간 것 같은 그런 풍경을 그리고 있어서 좋았다는 그런 시청 소감을 많이 들었고요. 그리고 이 이야기는 서로 사랑하지만 헤어져야 하는 연인의 이야기이기도 하지만 그리움의 정서를 다루는 이야기이기도 했습니다.
So this wasn't a historical piece per se, but people in South Korea noted, and I heard from a lot of viewers that it reminded them of what South Korea was like 20 or 30 years ago. So it drew back those memories as well. And fundamentally, this was a love story about lovers who could not be together, but it was, in terms of the overall sentiment, it was focused on a sense of longing between people.
그것이 여러 가지 문화적인 제약에도 불구하고 해외 시청자분들이 이 드라마에 공감을 하고 좋아해 준 이유가 됐을 거라고 생각합니다. 기저에 깔린 문화적인 배경이나 디테일들은 낯설어도 시청자들은 보물찾기 하듯이 그 드라마가 말하고자 하는 어떤 보편적인 재미나 가치를 찾아내는 거라고 생각합니다.
So I think because of these common storylines and these universal aspects, even though viewers might have been unfamiliar with the specific aspects of Korean culture, I think they were able to find the universal aspects that spoke to people who were not familiar with Korea. And I think this is an important reason why people came to be so interested in Crash Landing on You.
So Raymond, you're going to need to translate a little bit for. So, writers. We have to research so much because we have characters who have a different experience. So for me recently, I'm working on a television show about Korean American teenagers. And normally when I need information, I just email strangers I find online. But with underage, teenagers, I didn't really know how to do that and how to get parental permission. But as soon as the word spread that I was looking for Korean American teenagers, do you want to? So as soon as people heard I was looking for Korean American teenagers, because I was a professor at Stanford, my email inbox, all of the Korean parents just throwing their children at me, just too many. So my question is, how do you do research when you need, when you're not at Stanford?
Crash Landing on You?
Just in general, yeah, but Crash Landing on You, but anything, yeah.
이제 그 가장 어려웠던 케이스가 Crash Landing on You였던 것 같아요. 왜냐면 북한이니까요. 리서치를 해야 되는데 북한이기 때문에 보통은 사람들을 만나고 뭐 저도 똑같이 뭐 이메일도 보내고 직접 만나기도 하고 뭐 여러 가지 방법으로 거기서 뭐 생활하는 사람들과 같이 생활을 좀 해보기도 하고 뭐 이런 여러 가지 방법을 쓰는데 북한은 그럴 수가 없었기 때문에 주로 탈북하신 분들을 인터뷰를 굉장히 많이 했습니다. 뭐 수십 명에 이르는 다양한 직업과 나이대와 지역에서 온 분들을 나눠서 정말 뭐 50명은 넘는 그런 숫자였던 것 같은데 그 정도의 숫자의 분들을 인터뷰를 했습니다.
So, in terms of researching dramas, I would say Crash Landing on You was the most challenging, and for reasons you might understand, was about North Korea. So when I conduct my research for dramas, as you said, I send people emails. I meet with people to hear about their experiences. Sometimes I live with the people that I'm writing about just to get a real feel for what it's like. But obviously, this is not possible in North Korea. So the next best alternative was to interview North Korean escapees who had come to South Korea, and I interviewed over 50 escapees of all age groups, occupations, and hometowns in North Korea.
I have to ask, how do you arrange to live with the people you're writing about? That would be great.
예를 들면 이거 같은 경우는 크래시 랜딩 이유 같은 경우는 언어적인 문제가 굉장히 컸어요. 사투리가 북한 사투리를 제가 배워야 대본을 쓸 수가 있는데 그래서 보조 작가를 북한에서 탈북하신 영화 감독님 출신의 분을 초빙을 한 후에 그분과 거의 한 달 반 정도 같이 생활을 했습니다. 그러니까 뭐 잠은 같이 자진 않았지만 같은 곳에서 거의 먹고 계속 이야기하고 이런 생활을 한 달 반 정도를 하면서 그분이 얘기하는 거를 다 적었어요. 낱말 카드를 만들어서 작업실 벽에 다 붙여놓고 그렇게 좀 북한말을 익히려고 노력을 했습니다. 그러니까 정말 처음 듣는 단어들도 있고 뭐 단어는 익숙한데 처음 듣는 표현들도 있고 이런 걸 제가 그냥 뭐가 재밌나요? 북한말은 뭐가 재밌나요? 라고 물어봐서 나올 수 있는 게 아니었기 때문에 그냥 말을 시켜놓고 어떤 말을 하는지를 좀 적고 그래서 재밌는 게 있으면 붙여놓고 잊어버리지 않게 외우고 제가 만약에 영어 공부를 그렇게 했으면 지금 오늘 영어로 스피치를 할 수 있었을 텐데 아쉽습니다.
So we actually did this for Crash Landing on You. So what we did is we worked with an assistant writer. And we basically lived together. We didn't sleep in the same room, but we lived together with a film director who is from North Korea. And we would just record and write down things that he said. And we did this for about a month and a half. And there were expressions that we thought were intriguing, were interesting. We wrote them on index cards. We would paste these index cards in our office. And we did our best to try and familiarize ourselves with the North Korean dialect. I mean, there were words that I had not heard before. There were words that I recognized, but were used in different ways. And this was necessary for us to be able to create authentic dialogue in the drama. And looking back on it, if I studied English this hard, I would probably be giving my speech in English today. Right?
Can you tell us a little bit about what the process is of making television from the first? Oh, this is the question. From the first idea to to the writing to the production.
아닌데요. 맞아요. 제가 그러니까 예전에 LA에 있는 미국 작가룸에 방문한 적이 있었는데요. 그때 작가룸에는 10분이 넘는 분들이 계셨고 그리고 그 에피소드는 8개를 쓰고 있다고 하시더라고요. 그러니까 12명이 8개를 나눠서 쓰시는 거예요. 그래서 쇼러너가 여기 한국에서 온 작가는 얼마 전에 혼자서 20개 에피소드를 다 썼대. 이러니까 거기 있는 분들이 그러면 안 된다고 그러시더라고요.
So once I had the chance to visit a writer's room in LA, and there were 12 writers sitting around the table, and this was for a series with 8 episodes, and they would divide the 8 episodes between 12 writers. And the showrunner came into the room and told the writers in the room, This is a writer, drama writer from Korea. She just finished the show with 20 episodes and she wrote everything herself. And all the writers in the room shook their heads and like, oh no, you don't do that.
그런데 그게 저 혼자 특별해서 그런 게 아니고 한국의 제작 시스템이 그렇게 돼요. 한국은 드라마 작가들이 소설가처럼 혼자서 처음부터 끝까지 다 쓰는 시스템입니다.
So, and this is not unique to me. So in Korea, the way it really works in producing dramas is that writers are sort of, in effect, novelists. So they write everything from start to finish on their own.
물론 보조 작가들이 있습니다. 보조 작가들이 저 같은 모든 작가들마다 다르지만 저 같은 경우는 뭐 한 명일 때도 있고 두 명일 때도 있고 그렇게 옆에서 도와줍니다. 리서치도 해주고 제가 뭐 인터뷰 못할 때 인터뷰도 대신 해주고 아이디어 회의도 같이 하고요. 아이디어 페이퍼를 제출하기도 하고 그리고 제가 대본을 다 쓰고 나면 모니터링도 해줍니다. 이렇게 쓰면 안 된다 이런 얘기도 가장 냉정하게 해주는 친구들입니다.
So of course I do work with assistant writers. I sometimes have one, sometimes have two assistant writers, and they help with all aspects of writing. So they help with research, they help with interviews, they help with brainstorming, they come up with proposals for the ideas, and they're also some of the first ones to provide feedback on my script and say, oh, this part doesn't really work, this part is good, so they provide feedback as well.
간혹 뭐 두 분이 하시는 경우도 있는데 부부나 자매나 아니면 정말 두 분의 호흡이 좋은 두 작가분이 뭐 매칭이 돼서 두세 분이 같이 하시는 경우들도 있고 단체로 뭐 미국의 시스템을 본받아서 단체로 하시는 분들도 있지만 아직은 대부분이 혼자서 쓰는 게 일반적입니다.
So there are some cases where, for instance, a married couple, they're both writers, or you have two siblings who work together, or you have people who are not related, but they work well together. And there are some attempts in Korea now as well to adopt a more American-style system with multiple writers writing the same drama. But for the most part, by and large in Korea, it is still a main writer working on his or her own.
아이디어를 처음에 뭐 몇 개 정도를 고른 다음에 어떤 드라마를 쓸까 고른 다음에 시놉시스를 작성하는 과정을 제작사와 함께 논의를 하고요. 그렇게 해서 기본 방향이 잡히면 그 뒤에 대본을 뭐 몇 개 정도, 4편 정도를 쓴 다음에 배우 캐스팅을 시작합니다.
So in terms of how dramas come to life, so I come up with a few ideas and I whittle them down working together with a production company, and I write a synopsis, and then I write about 3 or 4 scripts. And it's only after that we begin to cast actors and actresses.
감독님은 처음부터 정해지기도 하고 중간에 합류하기도 하고 뭐 케이스마다 다른 것 같고요. 그 후에 이제 감독님과 캐스팅을 마무리를 하고 합니다. 일단.
So the director sometimes decided at the very beginning, sometimes it's directed in the middle, it depends on the piece. And I work together with the director to cast individuals for specific roles.
이 다음 과정은 최근에 좀 바뀌었는데요. 예전에는 대본을 4개에서 6개 뭐 이 정도만 쓰고 나면 촬영 들어가고 방송 들어가면서 방송을 보면서 그 이후에 대본을 쓰는 시스템이었습니다.
So the following steps have changed in the past few years. So it used to be the case that we began with 4 to 6 scripts, and then we would see the popular reaction and then would write each script after that as needed.
그런데 최근에 그 OTT 드라마, 그러니까 OTT 플랫폼이 들어오면서 동시 방영을 해야 되는 그런 상황이 돼서 이제는 사전 제작이 좀 많이 이루어지고 있습니다. 대본을 거의 다 쓰고 그리고 촬영도 거의 마무리가 된 상황에서 방송이 시작이 되는 그런 시스템입니다.
But now with the rise of OTT platforms, you have all episodes that are released at once on these platforms. So what happens is that the dramas are mostly finished by the time that they go on these platforms. The script is almost done before then, and almost all the filming is done before then as well.
조금 더 완성도 있는 촬영을 할 수도 있고 배우들이나 스태프들도 좀 더 좋은 컨디션에서 일할 수 있게 된 장점이 있다고 생각합니다.
So having this system allows us to perfect the filming. It gives us more room to do that. And I think it provides better working conditions for the actors and actresses and the filming crew as well.
그렇지만 글을 쓰는 작가 입장에서 가끔 아쉬울 때도 있습니다. 왜냐하면 예전 시스템이 힘들긴 했지만 방송을 보면서 사람들이 어떻게 느끼는지를 함께 느끼면서 반응도 보면서 그렇게 좀 같이 호흡하는 느낌으로 시청자와 그렇게 일을 했었는데 이제는 그러지 못하기 때문입니다.
But I do miss the old system in some ways. I mean, it was difficult, it was stressful, but there was something very interesting about waiting for the audience's reaction and then reacting to what the audience was reacting to the audience reactions in turn. And there's something fun about shaping the drama in real time, but we can't really do this now.
The way it works in the US is the writer writes one synopsis, one pilot, and then it goes to the network, and then a whole room, the 12 people, then write the rest of the synopses and the shows. So it's amazing what you've been able to do. Can you tell us a little bit about, since it's so different, can you tell us a little bit about a typical day in the life of a K-drama writer, just work day?
네. 모든 작가들이 다 다른 루틴을 갖고 있을 것 같고 저 같은 경우는 조금은 직장인처럼 출퇴근을 하려고 노력을 해요. 아침에 그러니까 루틴을 좀 정확하게 지키려고 합니다. 안 될 때도 있지만 아침에는 좀 일찍 일어나려고 7시쯤엔 일어나서 9시, 10시쯤엔 작업실로 출근을 하고요. 그리고 나서는 중간에 뭐 밥을 먹거나 산책을 하거나 이런 시간을 빼면 대부분 컴퓨터 앞에 좀 앉아 있으려고 합니다. 그래서 뭐 정말 아무것도 생각이 나지 않는 날도 있기는 한데 그럴 때도 좀 계속 앉아서 버티면서 생각이 좀 날 때까지 있다 보면 그래도 조금 쓸 수 있고 해서 일단은 어딜 가지 않고 또 그 앉아있는 시간에는 되도록이면 인터넷이나 다른 딴짓을 하지 않고 좀 계속 이렇게 컴퓨터를 바라보면서 뭔가가 나오기를 기다리면서 네, 그런 시간을 갖고 저녁이 되면 이제 집으로 돌아오고 이런 좀 루틴을 지켜가면서 일을 하려고 합니다.
So I imagine the different writers have different routines, but just to tell you about what a day looks like for me, I try to make it like a job with a regular schedule. So I try to wake up early, perhaps around 7. I go to the office around 9 or 10 in the morning. And while I'm in the office, other than eating lunch or taking short walks, I try to focus and sit in front of the computer. I mean, there are days when I have writer's block, I can't write too much, but even on those days, I try to just sit there and just get something out on the page and try not to distract myself by browsing the internet and whatnot. And once I'm done with the day, I log off and I come home in the evening.
Professor Lee, does that sound familiar to you, or is that different style?
It's no office. I mean, I guess you can come to Stanford, but yeah, the most. I think it's unusual to have an office. That's really great, and I think the biggest shared thing is the writer's block. Yeah.
저는 그 앞에 써붙여 놓은 게 마음에 들지 않아도 일단 쓰자, 쓰고 고치자. 마음에 항상 안 들기 때문에 써지지가 않는데 마음에 들 때까지 기다리면은 마감 시간을 지킬 수 없어서 들지 않아도 일단 쓰자, 쓰고 고치자 이렇게 얘기합니다. 이렇게 써붙여 놨습니다.
So there's something that I stuck in my office so that I could look at it, and it's basically even if I'm not too happy with it, I should still write something, because if I wait until I'm happy with it, then I won't be able to meet deadlines. So I have that to remind myself in my office.
I found a trick. So, when I teach at Stanford, my computer is in front of me. And so I can see emails and text messages coming in, but I'm teaching. So I have to ignore it. So I don't know what's happening. And so and that lasts about an hour and a half. So hour and a half, I can ignore. And I realized if I can do that when I teach, I should be able to do that when I write. So I've started setting the timer for 1 hour and a half, and I just tell myself, you have to ignore just like if you're teaching.
Yeah.
It's just as important.
저도 비행기 탑승 모드로 많이 해놓고 핸드폰을.
So it's also the case that like when I'm working, I often put my cell phone on airplane mode, so I'm not distracted.
네. 그러고도 아무것도 안 할 때도 있어요.
But I mean, sometimes even after I put my phone on airplane mode, I still don't get much work done.
These are helpful tips for students as well in studying.
So I've heard that most K-drama writers are women. Is that true? And if so, how did that happen?
과거에는 정말 그랬습니다. 그러니까 정말 남자 작가를 손에 꼽을 정도로 많지 않았었고 여자 작가들이 대부분이었던 게 사실인데 최근 들어서 그 비율이 많이 바뀌었고 그 이후에는 저는 좀 OTT 드라마의 등장도 큰 영향을 미쳤다고 생각을 하는 게 예전에 한국 드라마는 장르물보다는 로맨스나 가족 드라마나 이런 드라마들이 좀 줄을 이뤘고요. 남자 작가분들은 대하 사극이나 이런 걸 주로 쓰셨었는데 최근에는 여자 작가분들도 굉장히 훌륭한 또 장르물을 쓰기도 하시고 남자분들도 로맨스를 쓰긴 하지만 최근에 그 영화 쪽에서 활동하시던 많은 분들이 OTT를 통해서 드라마 시리즈에 도전하는 경우들이 많이 생겼고 그래서 장르도 굉장히 다양해지고 성비도 예전처럼 그렇게 여자 작가에 많이 편중되지는 않아 있다고 생각합니다.
So it really used to be in the case in the past that most K-drama writers were women and there are only like a handful of male writers. But I think that this has been changing, and one of the main reasons behind this is the rise of OTT platforms. So just to give you an idea, in the past, most Korean dramas were focused on romance, so they're focused on family issues. And for the most part, people who wrote these dramas were women. And men, I mean, of course, there were exceptions, but for the most part, wrote historical dramas. So there was a separation there. But with the rise of OTT platforms, now what you see happening is that male writers or directors who used to work on movies are now moving into dramas, and you're getting a greater variety of genres. And also, I think overall, you're not seeing as much of an imbalance in the sex ratio of K-drama writers.
최근에는 뭐 판사 출신의 작가분이 뭐 법정 드라마를 쓰시거나 의사 출신의 또 작가분이 의학 드라마를 쓰시거나 뭐 이런 상황들도 많이 생기고 있고 드라마의 소재나 이야기들이 아주 다양해지고 있습니다.
So I mean, there are cases where like an actual former judge writes legal dramas. There are actual doctors who write medical dramas. I think overall you're just seeing a greater variety in terms of topics and issues that are addressed by K-dramas.
How much attention do you pay to audiences when you're writing your work?
아까 말씀드렸던 것처럼 예전 시스템에서는 그 실시간으로 반응을 보기 때문에 어느 정도는 의식하지 않을 수가 없었습니다. 되게 이렇게까지 인기를 얻을 줄 몰랐던 캐릭터가 갑자기 인기를 얻으면 저도 모르게 한 줄 더 대사를 쓰게 되고 뭐 그런 게 있는데 지금은 좀 그러지는 못하는 시스템이에요. 미리 다 대중의 반응을 알지 못한 채 써야 되기 때문에. 그런데 예전에 그렇게 좀 대중의 반응에 대해서 영향을 받았을 때도 캐릭터가 좀 더 많이 등장하고 이런 정도의 영향은 받았지만 뭐 스토리 라인이 완전히 변하거나 엔딩이 바뀌거나 뭐 이런 일은 없었던 것 같습니다.
So as I mentioned earlier, under the previous system, we could watch the audience react in real time. And of course, because of this environment, we had to be mindful of what the audience was saying. And there were instances where a character that I didn't expect to get much attention was suddenly becoming really popular, and I would give that character a few more lines, maybe in the next episode. I could do things like that. But now it's a system where that's not possible. You have to write all of it before it gets out. You can't wait to see the public reaction. But even in the past, when we were reacting in real time to what the audience was, the audience opinion, it didn't go to the point of, say, like changing the narrative or changing storylines or changing the endings. It was just maybe giving that character more space in an episode. But even back then, we didn't change the structure of the drama per se.
Can you tell us a little bit about the labor conditions for writers in Korea?
제가 듣기로는 미국의 그 작가협회가 굉장히 파워풀하고 많은 일을 한다고 들었는데요. 한국에도 작가협회가 있고 그리고 작가들에게 많은 도움을 주고 있습니다. 뭐 법적인 부분, 뭐 법적인 분쟁에 휘말렸을 때나 계약을 할 때나 여러 가지 그쪽에 문의를 하면 많은 도움을 주고는 있는데요. 제가 생각할 때는 미국계 작가협회에 비해서는 아직은 좀 파워풀하지 못하고 조금 더 힘을 가졌으면 좋겠다고 저는 생각은 하는데 앞으로 그렇게 되지 않을까요?
So I heard that the Writers Union in America is extremely powerful. It's very active. It plays a lot of roles. And there's a similar Broadcast Writers Association in Korea as well. So writers get help if they're embroiled in legal disputes. They get help with writing their contracts and whatnot. But even so, I feel that the Korean equivalent is still not as influential. It's not as powerful. And I think in the future it would be good for this association to play a bigger role.
제가 듣기로는 미국 작가협회가 파업을 하면 방송계가 멈춘다고 들었는데 사실인가요?
So I heard that when the Writers Union in the US goes on strike, basically broadcasting channels have to shut down. Like, is that really true?
Yeah, it is. It's because the studios and the networks, they want to keep as much money as possible, and when the writers think that that's unfair, they're not getting a fair amount of that profit. We just agreed on a strike. Over 97% of our union voted yes on the strike, and it may start May 1st. But the reason we're powerful is not because people respect us and want to give us money. We're powerful because we're united. Let's see. How closely do you work with the other creatives involved in the team, like designers and composers?
굉장히 저는 그러니까 작가의 성향 따라 좀 다르기는 한데 저는 그런 배우나 스태프들과의 소통은 주로 감독님을 통해서 하려고 하는 편이에요. 왜냐하면 뭐 저도 말하고 감독님도 말하면 서로 의견이 다를 수도 있고 그렇게 소통의 창구가 여럿이 됐을 때는 좀 혼선이 있을 수 있기 때문에 많은 스태프도 너무 많고 배우도 많기 때문에 소통의 창구는 하나가 되는 것이 서로에게 편하다고 생각해서 제가 하고 싶은 말은 감독님하고 하고 거기서 협의된 바를 감독님이 많은 스태프과 배우들과 나누시는 편입니다.
So I suppose this depends on the writer as well. People have different working styles. But in my case, based on my experience working on dramas, whenever I have a suggestion where I have feedback, I go to the director and I tell him or her about my opinions. And the director then passes that on to, say, the actors and actresses and the filming crew. And the main reason for doing this is to avoid confusion and miscommunication. It's better if everything is going through one person. And that's how I usually work on dramas, when working with the filming crew and the actors and actresses.
단 한 명, 제가 음악 감독님하고는 좀 직접 얘기를 하는 편인데 방송이 다 만들어진 다음에, 그러니까 촬영이 된 다음에 이제 후 작업에 대한 거기 때문에 음악은 저랑 친한 음악 감독님이 크래쉬 랜딩 온 유를 같이 하셨던 분이 이런 장면을 이제 대본을 보시고 이런 장면에 이런 음악은 어떨까요? 이렇게 좀 제안을 주실 때도 있고 너무 좋다 하면서 제가 또 아직 출시되지 않은 음악이지만 대본을 쓸 때 틀어놓고 그런 감정을 좀 같이 느끼면서 미리 또 쓰기도 하고 그렇게 합니다. 사랑의 부시작을 할 때는 남희승 감독님께서 아리랑 같은 노래가 있었으면 좋겠다고 하셨어요. 이거는 우리 민족에 관한 이야기이기도 하니까. 그래서 너무 좋다라고 얘기를 해서 만들어진 노래가 송가인 씨가 불렀던 내 마음의 사진인가? 제목이 아무튼 송가인 씨가 불렀던 그 노래가 약간 그런 아리랑을 컨셉으로 해서 만들어진 노래였습니다. 그런 식으로 좀 사전에 음악 감독님하고는 소통을 합니다.
So the only exception to this is that I sometimes work directly with the music director, and for Crash Landing on You, I worked with a director named Nam Hae-seung. And this was, in some sense, post-production. All the filming was done, and it was just at the stage where the music had to be put on. And once the director suggested, oh, we should have a song along the lines of Arirang, which is an important song in Korean culture. And since the drama is also about the division of the Korean people, and I thought this is a wonderful suggestion. And what happened is that I think it's in episode 8 of Crash Landing on You. At the end, we have a song by Song Ga-in called a Picture of My Heart, and this is how this song came about. So while I usually just work with the overall director, sometimes I also work with the music director and exchange feedback.
Are there similar stories like that in the U.S.? Or?
Oh, sorry.
In the U.S. system, are you like working closely with these kinds of people in production, or not so much?
I think the showrunner is much more in charge. My question is the showrunner, is the writer more powerful than the director in TV in Korea?
뭐 케이스 바이 케이스인 거.
Yeah, well, I think that's true in the U.S. too, depending on who it is. Do you, along the same lines, are you ever surprised by how your show looks in the end, or do you have a lot of influence over what it looks like?
보통은 어느 정도 기대했던 만큼의 그 결과들이 나오기는 하는데 또 제가 생각했던 것보다 훨씬 좋은 연기와 훨씬 좋은 씬들이 나오기도 하고 또 뭐 가끔은 이게 왜 이렇게 뭐 이런 경우도 있지만 뭐 그거는 사람이 하는 일이라서 어쩔 수 없다고 생각합니다. 좋고 나쁨의 결국에는 뭐 씬마다 이거는 대본보다 좋고 이거는 대본보다 좀 별로고 뭐 이렇게 생각할 수 있지만 결과적인 그 작품 전체적인 거는 작가의 책임이 굉장히 크다고 생각합니다.
So for the most part, I mean, it was the case that when it came on the screen, the drama would mostly align with what I envisioned and with my expectations. And there were even cases where the acting was much better than what I had envisioned. There were cases where certain scenes were much more powerful than I had imagined. And of course, you could look at every scene and say, oh, this is better than what I expected, this is worse than what I expected. But making a drama is a complex process. A lot of people are involved. So in the end, I think the writer has a big responsibility for what the audience sees on the screen.
Those were such wonderful answers. Thank you so much for sharing with us today. That was great.
Raymond, do you want to? I think we have a couple audience questions that we might be able to take. Okay, so the first one is, when you're crafting your characters, how do you choose to kind of layer them with small characteristics, and smaller characters? Does it come from people you know, or from like casting actors in the roles?
그 배우를 보고 캐릭터를 정하지는 않고요. 그 아까 말씀드렸던 말 안 듣는 중학생 이야기 했었잖아요. 그런 식으로 제가 스쳐갔던 많은 제가 경험했던 많은 사람들이 조연뿐만 아니라 주연 캐릭터를 만들 때도 결국에는 조금씩 투영이 되는 것 같습니다. 그 안에.
So it's not the case that I look at the actor or actress is going to be cast in that role and then make the character. Usually the case that bits and pieces of people that I've experienced, like the middle school student who I tutored that I told you about earlier. So bits and pieces of people that I actually experienced, I think sometimes make their way into the main character or also into supporting characters.
Professor Lee, is that kind of how you?
Yeah, her answers are all so good. I can only just say, yes, that is the correct answer.
Awesome. And are there any actors that you would like to work with in the future?
원하시는 분이 있으면 저한테 얘기를 해주시면 제가 캐스팅하도록 최선을 다해서 노력해 보겠습니다.
I think if there are any actors, actresses out there who would like to work with me, I will do my best to cast you in one of my dramas.
I have my own answer. I would like to work with Stephen Yeun. So just putting that out there.
That sounds great. All right, well, thank you all. I think there will be a brief break, and then we will reconvene for the next panel.